Hello, boys and girls. Today I'm in Greenville at the Conisty Park, Conisty, and this trail is supposed to be closed, but what the heck? Anyway, something I kind of left out of the last video was perspectives, and I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying something, and they said, well, everyone has their own opinion. And I said, well, you know what an opinion is, right? And they kind of looked at me funny, like, what are you talking about? And he thought about it for a second, and he said, well, it's different ways of seeing things. So, yeah. So, two people could be looking at something from different angles, anything, a sculpture, a garbage can, anything. And they might see two different things. I said, yeah, but is that ever the truth? And he got it. It's like, no. And that's the whole thing. An opinion is never true. Well, God knows there are opinions everywhere. People are hanging on to desperately opinions on all sorts of things. And that brings me to perspectives. So, say for example, you were in a prison cell and you had 15 bumper stickers on the walls. And each one said a certain thing. It could be this political party's bad, or this thing is bad, or this religion is good. Just basically a few words on each one. And that's very typical. Most people's perspectives. They hang on to a few things that serve them in some psychological sense. But they're just basically slogans. So, for example, patriotism gets tossed around a good bit. Oh, I'm so proud of my country, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, aren't there a lot of things that you shouldn't be proud of that happened? Oh, I better turn around. But, yeah, killing Native Americans, slavery, all kinds of horrible things. I won't even go into it. It goes on and on and on forever. But if you got that bumper sticker on the wall, in your room that you never leave, and you get to, feel good about yourself. It's like I'm, the right religion, the right politics, and patriotic. It's like, well, it's not a very big perspective. Say, for example, you were looking at the Earth from space. And this has happened to a lot of people, astronauts, William Shatner, for example. They go into orbit and they see the Earth, the entire Earth, from a larger perspective. And they don't see borders. They don't see politics. They don't see human structures. They see this gigantic living ecosystem, and it changes them forever because their perspective has become incredibly, incredibly large. Now take, for example, William Shatner. Well, a couple of the actors from the second series, whatever that was called, Data and the other guy, well, they're involved in an organization that is supposed to be promoting space travel as being humanity's future. That's the future of humankind, is the exploration of space. Not the preservation of the Earth that we're a part of. Now, admittedly, our consciousness is part of the universe, everything. But our bodies are part of this planet, the Earth. So, if you have a very limited perspective on your life, the world, humanity, nature, then you might get sold on like, oh, I need to get a gigantic pickup truck because it's a free country and that's how macho I am. And what those do is they destroy the future. They pollute, they use a ton of fuel, they're wasteful, and basically evil. So they're nature killers. Well, how much of what we do is killing nature? Well, it's interesting because if you go out and just drive around suburbia, here's houses, lawns, things like that. Well, what is a lawn? Well, lawns date back to British aristocracy, Europeans, where basically it was a way to preserve an open space around the mansion or the castle, or I suppose they could see people coming or something like that, perhaps. But it spread. So now you have lawns everywhere. And you got people spraying your lawns for, so-called pests. And companies with leaves, green this, eco that. Yeah, right. Well, all a lawn is a place where nothing else can grow. Nothing else can live. Squirrels, birds, bugs, there's nothing there for them. It's a dead zone. So who would have thought this, that lawns are dead? Well, they are. What else? You might go somewhere else, an apartment complex or a mall or something like that. They'll have a few trees growing, for sort of pictorial reasons, aesthetics. But all around the trees is mulch. Of course, mulch is just broken up trees, treated with some chemicals, I think. And there again, mulch is to stop other things from living there. So it is essentially death. Wow. So let's see. You pave over the earth with a road. Nothing can live there. You cover things. It's death. A building, a house, death. It's as if you were covering your body with little layers of concrete or plastic. It's like we haven't covered the whole body yet, but if you did, you would not live long. So anyway, roads, buildings, all these things are basically death. So our culture is a death culture, basically, because it's about profit. It's about seeing the natural world as resources, seeing land as property that you can't own, which is crazy. Some people these days are talking about giving nature rights where living things actually have rights, which at this point might be a little late, but it's a good idea. And anyway, the thing about enlarging your perspective and what happened with me is like I've always been an outsider. I moved every couple of years or less growing up, England, America, different countries, all over the US. Always felt like an outsider, which is good in a way. So I'm glad I don't feel like I belong anywhere, because what it does is it gives me freedom to explore all sorts of other territories, areas of thought, and, as I said, perspectives. So I never felt I was from any given country, had a religion, nothing like that, so I wasn't committed to that. Now, I never got a college degree, but I've read thousands of books, all nonfiction, on all sorts of different subjects, and sciences, anthropology, systems theory, philosophy, all kinds of things. And this is, pre-internet basically, so it's coming from all the books that they're scouring now for AI. But all that stuff helped to, every time I learned something, it expanded the perspective more. So I might have mentioned the book on Australian Aborigines that I read. It was basically the most mind-expanding and mind-blowing book I've ever read, because they lived basically in paradise. They got everything right. We, on the other hand, get everything wrong. They were happier and healthier than anyone that's ever lived on Earth that we know of for 200,000 years. So anyway, it's a very sick culture we're in. It's a death culture, and it's also stunted in terms of perspectives. So larger perspectives are a good thing. You know, today, for example, you can't turn on the internet without seeing, what's her name? Dolly Parton. And, everyone's, praise, praise. Aborigines, when someone died, yeah, they would be mourned by the family, but other than that, their name was erased. Because there's no reason to be looking back at them. Here again, millions and millions and millions of posts. We Dolly Parton, this, that. What does it do? Not a damn thing, because it freezes you where you're looking back. Nothing's happening. You're not doing anything. And here again, thing about celebrity is that people don't have a large enough perspective to really understand what this celebrity thing is. Celebrity never comes from a good place. The desire for it, almost never. It comes from a shitty childhood. It comes from a lack of approval. And, she went through all of that. And basically felt she wasn't good enough. So what do? You get gigantic breast implants. You get facial surgery. You wear gigantic wigs. You paste yourself with makeup like crazy. Why? Because there was something wrong about you that needs fixing. Can't accept yourself the way you were. So it comes from trauma. And there again, it's like, well, she was so giving to charities and causes and things like that. It's like, well, yeah. And it's not like some good wasn't done. But there again, she put her face on it, put her name on it. It's not like it's, what's the word? Anonymous. Not anonymous at all. So, anyway, the list of celebrities goes on and on that, will never be forgotten. It's like, well, I forgot. I could barely remember her name. Because I just don't do that. Because it doesn't lead anywhere. It actually pauses your own life. Because you're looking backwards in time, you're not here. So anyway, so much going on that we could improve. And who knows, maybe I'll write a book about it. But on the path we're headed on, we're not going to have, I don't want to be a doomsayer, people, civilization's not so. Cultures like ours, they last a few thousand years and then they collapse, and it's usually because they've gone too far away from the earth, messing around with silly stuff, technology or whatever. So anyway, I'll leave it there.